The NFT represented by a song means you own the song, and as we've seen, you don't. I think the majority of naive or younger purchasers fall into this category. They're buying without fully understanding what they actually now own. The second
because they're impressionable and they were convinced by a snake oil salesman. This snake oil is going to cure all your troubles and it's going to make you money. No, you naive little man.
reason is
or woman.
To sell onwards.
Or neither.
And this is the main part of the scam.
So it goes without saying that NFTs have become a very popular topic lately. I firmly believe it's for the reason that most people don't understand what it is, and it's being popularized by a few stories from a loud minority that are saying, I'm getting rich doing this. You're not hearing from the negative experiences people are having with NFTs, let alone crypto in general, and how crypto is affecting society at large. People are thinking they're getting away with tons of profit. It's only a matter of time before society reacts and adapts to what this is supposed to be. When it comes to what to me is just gambling with tax evasion, it's only a matter of time before those people are taxed and might even have to go to jail in some cases, depending on the amounts, because by the time they figure out who's who and what's what, I'm sure the money will be spent and they won't have the means to pay the tax. It's also affecting people's ability to acquire GPUs because of all the crypto mining that's occurring that requires these computer components that people could be using for actual purposeful use. In any case, Josh Strife Hayes is now talking about the topic, so I'm curious to hear his take because, yeah, he's a drama teacher, but he's a highly intelligent person who applies similar things to myself or Asmongold, where there's critical thinking involved, some analysis, some research, instead of just emotionally responding. Obviously, he's taking his time with this video, so I'm going to take my time watching it.
What are NFTs? How do they work? Why does everyone seem to be buying or selling them? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes, and in this video I'm going to explain the NFT craze in the simplest way I possibly can. I won't be going into super deep technical depth, such as gas fees or residual taxation. Instead, I want to explain the basic concept using relatable, real-world scenarios so you can finally wrap your head around something which is honestly very confusing. I'll try
Please use pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing as examples.
to explain everything, from the inception of the NFT idea, to why the art connected to them is so strange, to why people keep saying things like NFT games or metaverse. Before we start, a massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive.
Jeez,
More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. With 2.7 million NFTs in existence and that number increasing daily, the NFT boom is definitely here. But with only 360,000 people actually owning any, it seems to be a very exclusive club. Nearly 300 million people in the world.
An exclusive club of stupid.
World are actively involved in cryptocurrency. This means only 0.1% of cryptocurrency users are also involved in NFTs. So what is this super exclusive club all about? And why is the McDonald's McRib an NFT? Let's start at the very beginning. Imagine I wanted to sell you nothing. That would be great for me. I'd get money and you'd get, well, nothing. How could I do this? I ask you if you want to buy nothing, and you say no, and rightfully so, because people don't like nothing. What people like is status or rarity. Now, in a digital world, scarcity is a strange concept because everything digital is just ones and zeros. You can recreate data as much as you need. But what if I created artificial digital scarcity? Data which could not be recreated or reproduced. Imagine I create.
This is because of blockchain technology making unique code for something that you upload on the internet, which is why you're able to do it with pictures, documents. And it makes sense in the context of documents, because when you think about, say, a contract, you don't want that to be forged or manipulated. You can create it as an NFT, and then it's there. It can't be tampered with, it can't be destroyed, it's just there. That makes sense. That's practical usage of blockchain technology. Using it to buy and sell these little pictures of dudes that you can make in paint in like an hour because you have to make 5,000 of them that are 1 pixel different. It honestly would take you 5 seconds. Ridiculous.
Create a database with a limited number of spaces in it, each space identified with a unique number. It can help to visualize this as a long queue of people, a line with places for people to stand. The queue doesn't go anywhere, and there's no inherent value to be standing in one spot over any other spot, but it's there. And I sell people a position on this queue. Let's say there are 9,999 places in the queue, and I sell you the right to stand in a place for £1. It's important to understand I'm not selling you the entire queue or the experience at the end of it, because there is none. I'm not selling you the land you're standing on. What I'm selling you is the right to stand there and to say, this is your queue position. I might even give you a bit of paper which reads, Josh Strife Hayes hereby declares the bearer of this paper can stand in this queue position. And then I sign it so no one else can make this exact bit of paper. Your position in the queue, or the paper which states your position, is a token, and it cannot be recreated. It is, in economical terms, non-fungible. To be
right. It can't be copied, it can't be tampered with, it can't be destroyed. It just exists now. So you're wasting server space effectively to have all these copies of, is it CryptoPunks? I forget the name of like the little dudes that are just like pixelated images of a dude in a toque or whatever. And that's what you're buying. The status of owning someone's half-assed attempt at art in Microsoft Paint. Congratulations, it's worth $70 million. Because that's what you decided to pay, not because that's what it's worth.
Fungible means to be replaced by another identical item, and because you cannot have another queue position 1, it cannot be replaced. When you buy a position in the queue, absolutely nobody else can buy that position. And to make sure no duplicates can happen, I've hired a guy called Mr. Blockchain to check every single sale of any queue position. Once I've sold the...
It's effectively a receipt. NFTs, you're just buying receipts. Imagine you go to Best Buy and someone buys like the nicest gaming computer, your dream computer. And then when he comes outside, you're like, oh man, how much did that cost? And it's like, it's pretty expensive, but you know what? I'll sell you the receipt. What? Yeah, I'll sell you the receipt. That way you can tell your friends, oh, look, I've got this receipt to this computer. And people will think you have an amazing computer. Wow, that's really good. How much do you want? $1 million. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's worth it. Okay.
The right to stand in that position to you, it will be listed on the public blockchain. So there's no doubt about who currently has that position. And if you want to sell your queue position to someone else, that's fine. You can do that. This sale will also be recorded on the blockchain. But why would anyone want to buy a position in a queue? It doesn't go anywhere. There's no value to any of the places over any of the others. Well,
correct.
Here's the next trick. Human beings are visual creatures. We like art. And while every position in the queue does have a numerical value, numbers don't have the appeal or the shareability of pictures. So next to every position in this queue, I put up a poster. My plan is this. I'm going to put a different picture on every single poster, and buying the position in the queue will let you stand by a particular poster. It's important to remember, you do not own the poster. You do not own the picture on the poster. You cannot reproduce the picture on the poster, or sell copies, or claim ownership of it.
And if people decide to come to your position in queue and take a picture of the poster and then go sell it somewhere, you have no legal recourse to act on that. You don't have any rights. You just have a position in this queue.
What you own is the right to say you are the only person able to stand in a specific queue position next to a specific poster. You cannot prevent other people looking at your poster because you don't own it.
And in some cases, this is an interesting thing for artists because they might set this up where they receive some kind of royalty for each transaction. I see some merit to that because it's a way for artists who otherwise wouldn't be making any money on their art to monetize. Great. If they get a cut every time it goes up in value, then they're getting an increasing percentage of royalty. A lot of cases, there's none of that. There's people buying this monkey picture and then perhaps going to a secondary market and trying to speculate on the value of this thing and dupe somebody else into buying it for so much more. It's snake oil sales. I say it time and time again. Someone's convincing you a value that isn't there, and once you're stuck with it, the onus is now on you to become a snake oil salesman to accrue any kind of value and return on your investment. It's ridiculous.
And the right to stand next to it. Now people are a bit more interested because people want to say, this is my picture. Remember, it's not. It's yours.
Why can't I find a man with visual representation of their number in the blockchain?
Space on the database and this picture is connected to it. But for my goal of selling you nothing, I'm making quite decent progress. But now I have another problem. I need to produce 9,999 different pictures, and that's going to take me quite a long time. So I need to streamline the...
That's Beeple, who is an actual artist, probably otherwise wouldn't be very well known or been able to make a decent living from his art if he hadn't participated in this. Maybe he already was doing quite well. I don't know enough about Beeple per se. But the point is that is art with effort. He's talking about streamlining the process. When you look at the monkeys and the CryptoPunks, you're just going into perhaps Photoshop in the case of the monkeys, and you're just reskinning. It's the equivalent of what video games do when they want to release new skins for something. Overwatch does it, World of Warcraft does it. It's the same aesthetic with a different color set. Fantastic art.
The process. Thankfully, I can do that. Remember, there are 9,999 spaces in the queue that I've created, essentially meaning 9,999 individual entries on the database, and purchasing that space gives you the non-fungible token, or NFT, of that space. Remember, the NFT isn't the picture, or the sound, or the video, or whatever I choose to link to that space to make it identifiable. The NFT is just the right to say, this is my position on this particular database. And the images are just linked to them as visual representations of that digital position. Now, I could sit down and draw 9,999 individual pictures, but this would take me far too long. So instead, I make a machine which can generate them for me. Remember those children's flip books divided into sections horizontally with different heads and bodies and feet? And you could flip the pages in random orders to create different looking characters. My machine kind of works like that. I make an image generating machine. I give the machine 10 different background colors, 10 possible face shapes, 10 different hairstyles, and then 10 different accessories. And your queue position, your NFT number, helps generate the image next to your spot. The first number will give you the background color, the second will give you a face shape, the third will give you your hairstyle, and the fourth will give you your accessory. With this system, I have just created 9,999 different unique bits of artwork, allowing each position in my queue to have a different image associated with it.
That's what separates Beeple, an artist, from a scammer who's taking advantage of a trend, like the monkey person or the CryptoPunk person. They're just using a generator. In the case of the CryptoPunk person, like the most simple of means of art, because it's zoomed in to little individual pixels, so he just has to take the paint can and fill in the colors he wants. Such an effortless scam, and people love it.
In case you ever wondered why so much NFT art looks like it's just been generated by a machine using the variables of the NFT data to randomly composite a picture, it's because that's exactly what they're doing. The majority of NFT pictures aren't artistic expressions, they're corporate visual representations of an algorithmic position. This is also why artists are having their work stolen from image hosting sites at an astounding rate, because it's easier to steal an image, attach it as a visual representation for your own NFT, and sell it to someone else than it is to make your own art. So now my idea of selling you nothing is looking a lot more inviting to you, because you don't see it as buying nothing anymore. You see it as buying a one-of-a-kind artwork, or song, or video, or whatever I've decided to attach to each individual position on the queue to make it more appealing. But again, please remember, the NFT is proof of your position in the queue. It is the numerical value of your position in the database. It is not the artwork or file associated with that position. You do not own whatever is attached to it to make it more appealing. I've just attached that to it so you have something to point at and say you are linked to. Another way to picture it is this. Imagine I have 9,999 receipts for various items from a shop, and each receipt has a different item, and each receipt couldn't be reproduced. These receipts are non-fungible tokens, and you could buy them from me. Now, you wouldn't have the item on the receipt, you just have the receipt, and you could show it.
This is extremely validating for me, because I came up with that analogy out of simple logic and understanding for what was being said to me. It really isn't a hard concept, but what is so confusing for so many people, especially those who have invested, is that they were probably made to feel, oh, you just don't get it, you just don't understand, you're just gonna miss out on the trend. And they bought into FOMO, the fear of missing out on the next .com bubble, the big burst. So, I better get in now before it's too late. I'm so sorry for you.
To someone else, and they could say, oh wow, does this mean you own some milk? And you'd say, no, I own a bit of paper created by that guy which says milk on it. And you can be sure, thanks to Mr. Blockchain, that no one else owned the milk paper
You don't own the milk, you're just a bag of milk. That's a Canadian chirp.
that I've made. But that's not to say no one else owns milk paper. Because if someone else started their own NFT collection, selling positions on their own queue, could they use the same visual representations as someone else? Could they use the same posters as me, or very slightly different versions? Could they also sell you a receipt which said milk? Well, yes. Because remember, you're not buying the rights to the image, you're buying the place in the queue next to the image. It would actually be up to the copyright holder of the image, if there is any, to follow legal action to stop anyone else using them. And this is complicated because we've not sold you the images, we're using them as connected visual representations.
And it's in the crypto metaverse, decentralized, no governing body. Who's going to enforce that? RoboCop?
So let's say you buy the NFT, and that NFT is associated with an image. So you proudly post the image, and then someone right-clicks it and saves it and shares it. Have they stolen your image? Well, no, because you do not and never actually did own the rights to license the image. All it was a visual connection to your place within a giant digital database. And what the blockchain is making sure of is no one else has your specific place. The blockchain doesn't really care what image is associated with your place. It cares about your place being unique in itself. If another position in another queue uses an identical image, that's not really the blockchain's problem. So why is every company trying to sell you NFTs?
You could make 999 of the exact same thing. And technically, from the perspective of the blockchain, you have 999 unique entries. Because that's the power of the blockchain. It's to individualize things, even if they're identical. The fact that someone has gone through the trouble of using a generator to make visual representations unique, it's meaningless. The value is behind the image, and it's not an investment value. It's a value for people who want to make sure things can't be tampered with, so that when they put them on the internet, it stays the same. It can't be funged. It's non-fungible.
Now, well, honestly, why wouldn't they? It's basically free money for them. Let's take the new Castlevania NFTs, which have unfortunately now appeared. Any company can create a giant database and sell you a place on it, but humans are visual creatures. We want to point to something and say, that's mine. So the companies take from their vast bank of game artwork or concept art, and they associate each position on their database with an image. So when a company sells you the NFT linked to an item, they're not selling you the item, the rights to the item, the copyright of the item, or the ownership of the artwork. They're selling you.
They're giving you the equivalent of a CSGO skin. It has no actual value, but you can potentially trade it in for credit within their little ecosystem. That's probably the best that you'll get. That's not even the case with Castlevania as far as I can tell.
You a position which lets you point to the picture and say, this image represents my position. If you purchase Dracula's castle, it does not mean you own Dracula's castle. So how do you create an NFT? Well, that's a tad more complex than this video is really going to go into, but simply put, anyone can mint an NFT on one of the various sites, and the blockchain will check that your specific variable is unique, and then you can...
Anyone can make one. The only difference in how much money you can make from it is your ability to fool the person who might buy it. And once you've made that transaction, hopefully they can't find you.
Can sell it. To use the queue example, anyone can start digging a new queue anywhere they like, but Mr. Blockchain will make sure that the construction of your queue does not build on top of an already existing queue.
Right.
It must have a unique place, but the images that you attach to the places to represent them do not need to be unique. So why does...
Which is why I'm so against this, because it's a waste of server space and resources.
Everyone keeps saying owning an NFT of a video game thing will allow you to use that thing in other games. Well, that's quite simple. It's because people are idiots. Someone told me if I purchased the NFT of a certain weapon in a certain game, then my ownership of it would allow me to take that weapon into another game and use it there. This is just straight up wrong. Different video games are created in different programming languages with different architecture, and you cannot simply place an asset from one into another.
Unless you're a clever programmer, but then you're not taking your NFT into the other game. If you're a clever programmer, you just create a visual representation of that thing from another game and put it in the game of your choice. So long as it's not so unique and, indicative of a certain intellectual property that they're going to sue you.
Imagine putting a PlayStation disc into an Xbox. It wouldn't work. Imagine you bought a burger from a burger place and you took the receipt to a bowling alley and said, I want to use the burger bowling ball. I have the receipt for the burger. They'd be confused. You don't own the burger bowling ball because they don't use the same receipt system. They don't have one. Your purchase from one place does not guarantee you'll be able to use it in another. So why would anyone buy NFTs when they're only usable?
I hadn't even heard that before, so whoever suggested that must have made Josh's brain hurt.
Locally within their own queue system, and they don't actually have any inherent value. What purpose is there to standing in a queue that doesn't go anywhere? Why have your name associated with a unique placement on a database which is linked to an artwork but does not grant ownership of the artwork? Well, I can see 4 main reasons people would purchase an NFT. Number 1, they don't understand what they're buying. A lot of people think purchasing the NFT represented by an image means you own the image, or buying the NFT represented by a song means you own the song. And as we've seen, you don't. I think the majority of naive or younger purchasers fall into this category. They're buying without fully understanding what they actually now own. The second,
because they're impressionable and they were convinced by a snake oil salesman. This snake oil is going to cure all your troubles and it's going to make you money. No, you naive little man.
second reason is
or woman.
To sell onwards.
Or neither.
And this is the main part of the scam. Because the whole appeal of an NFT is its own digital scarcity. Remember, that's the scarcity of the position in the queue, the database variable, not the artwork. People will assume that they will appreciate in value because they cannot be copied. They are non-fungible. If I buy the NFT represented by an image and then convince someone else this image is desirable and therefore the NFT linked to it is also desirable, they'll want to buy it from me for more than I paid. I'll make profit. This is what we're seeing with the vast majority of NFT scams popping up. Companies or individuals minting vast amounts of NFTs and trading them around to generate hype. We'll look at insider.
That's why you see the notion of someone who bought something from an artist, posted it online, someone copy-pastes it and takes it to a secondary market and is making money where they shouldn't be. Because A, there's no value. B, there's no royalty reward for the original artist. It's just a scam and a thief.
Trading more in a minute. The third reason to purchase an NFT is to support the company selling them. Maybe you directly value the company and you want to be a part of history. You want to be able to say, yeah, I own Dracula's castle. That would be cool. But again, remember, you don't own the castle, and legally, you can't say that you do. Or the fourth reason, and this is the saddest one, just to be in the community. The whole NFT craze is a giant community, bordering on a cult for some
Fear of missing out on a cult. Is that really what you need?
people. Humans want to feel involved and accepted. People like to feel they belong to a group. So when you see meetups of people who all bought those monkey NFTs, it's tribal. It's the exclusive group they are in and you are not. Others cannot afford to be in it. It's a digital flex. You are not as wealthy as they are. It's the incredibly shallow mindset of showing that they can afford to spend a lot of money on that NFT and therefore they are better than you. Your desire to join that club increases if you want to be like these people. If you value status and you have enough money to spend without caring, it's the online equivalent of buying a designer shirt. We looked earlier at how 0.1% of all crypto users hold an NFT. Well, it gets even more top heavy, because less than 10% of NFT owners hold around 80% of the total wealth of all.
So, hang on a second. That says greater than 10%. So, less than 10%? Is that what he just said?
Crypto users hold an NFT. Well, it gets even more top heavy, because less than 10% of NFT owners hold around 80% of the total wealth of all.
I don't mean to call Josh out on that. I just want to clarify so that if people who are potentially, volume off here, less than 10%, other way around. It's okay though.
Currently available NFTs. So let's cycle back and ask, if every trade of an NFT is tracked by the blockchain, how can anyone get scammed? Surely you could just find out who the scammer was by looking at the records. Well, yes. And while the blockchain tracks trades between online wallets, people buying these NFTs don't always do their research. Imagine you were following an NFT and you saw someone bought it for £1 and sold it for £5, and then that person sold it for 10, then 20, then 100, then 500. You'd think, wow, this thing is desirable. I need to buy it now and sell it on for my own profit. You want a slice of that pie. So you buy it for 600, and then you discover all of those previous trades going up in value have actually been between friends, or between the same person with different digital wallets, or different companies artificially inflating the price, hoping someone just like you would fall for it and buy it. They've not actually told you to buy it. They've also not told you it's going to increase. You bought it for a value you were happy for. They haven't necessarily scammed you, but they have tricked you. Now, you can claim that this is insider trading to artificially increase desirability, and of course that is illegal, but who's going to police it? Does a digital good fall under the jurisdiction of the country it's currently being held in on whatever server, or the country it's going to, or the country of whoever sold it, or
answer, there's no precedent for it legally, so you have no legal recourse.
Whoever purchased it? Or who created it? Is it a financial security, an asset? Is it artwork or currency? Do you work off the value of the data itself or the payments made for the data? It's still so new that world governments are still figuring this out, which is why using NFTs to launder money is still so common. So let's go back to the original idea of me selling you nothing.
Furthermore, when you want to talk about money laundering, let's think of like a big drug deal. Let's say the person sells $1,000 worth of drugs to a person, but they don't want the paper trail of that transaction. So the guy gets $1,000 worth of drugs, and then the person buys a NFT worth $1,000, and then transaction done. So to think that there's any kind of merit to this system, this is an unfortunate byproduct of an amazing technology that has a lot of practical use, and this is not it.
Remember those companies who sold you land on the moon or sold you a star, and what they were actually doing was selling you
a piece of Scotland land so that you could be called Sir, lady.
Position on their locally held database which said your name is associated with this star, or your name is now associated with this patch of land on the moon. Those companies didn't actually own the rights to sell that, but no one else did either, so no one could claim ownership of it. What you were buying was the novelty of saying you owned it. NFTs work in a somewhat similar way, except instead of selling you something no one owns, they're selling you the privilege of claiming ownership of a small space on a database that they themselves created, and every sale is corroborated on the blockchain. I've created the queue, and all the positions in that queue are on unique bits of land with unique identifying numbers behind the scenes. Mr. Blockchain has checked this, and I've paid him to do so. And then I associate each position in the queue with an image to give you some visual representation to associate with the purchase of that position, and then I start selling the positions. Now, every single position is essentially the same, but whoever buys 0001 is going to have slightly higher status, because we value the number 0001 more than any other random 4 digits. Which means they can then convince you to buy that position from them simply because it's desirable. It doesn't do anything, but you want it. The problem is, anyone else can now create their own queue. There are hundreds, thousands, possibly tens of thousands of queues being created, and Mr. Blockchain is validating every single one. Remember, they're not checking that each individual picture associated with a spot is unique. They're checking...
That's not the job of the blockchain technology to do that. All it's doing is acting as a notary. Just, yep.
Each individual queue location or digital location is. What the owner of that NFT gets given to represent that space is up to the person who created that space. If it
Ugh.
helps, imagine removing all of the artwork, all the pictures, and replacing them with just strings of ones and zeros. Every NFT, the space on the database, is still represented with a unique picture. The picture is now just a binary string. If you did this, the actual practical features do not change at all. The only reason we use pictures or icons or spinning GIFs is to give us something pretty to look at. The NFT itself, the non-fungible token, is simply proof of purchase, of receipt, of a unique, simple bit of digital data which no one else can claim ownership of at any given moment.
Again, feeling so validated for when first hearing about these NFTs, I thought, okay, so it's a digital receipt of anything that you decide to put on the blockchain. That's useful technology. And then I started hearing about all the ways it was being exploited. And I thought, another good thing, just having its idea be squandered. When it comes down to practical usage, people won't want to come near it because they don't understand.
But how does the original creator benefit once they've been sold? Well, some NFTs can have long-term taxes attached to them, and every time a trade is made from user to user, the blockchain will notice this, and a small percent will go back to the original creator, leading to...
That's what I was saying about Beeple. So there's some good that can come of this, but you have to be careful and do the research behind it, because for all you know, the royalty is going to the wallet of some scammer.
Residual royalties forever. So the next time you want to laugh at someone for spending thousands of pounds on buying a picture of a monkey, remember they don't actually own a picture of a monkey. They own the rights to say they own a position on a database which is represented by the visualization of a monkey, which only maintains its value because people think it has value. And
so if you want to laugh at them, laugh harder.
Everyone suddenly stopped caring tomorrow, it would be worth nothing. The entire NFT space is a speculation market, and the fluctuating values and intangibility of the NFT itself makes them incredibly hard to tax, which is why right now the system is a haven for money laundering. Companies are jumping on the let's sell NFTs ban
because they're corporations who operate on making a profit. And if they can make even more profit for their bottom line by selling you nothing, they will. Hello?
Wagon, because it essentially allows them to double dip into their associated in-game assets. If you as a company have already got thousands of graphical assets for your game and you want to make even more money and convince fans they are buying a piece of history, then you'd simply mint thousands of NFTs, artificially rare, non-reproducible positions on a digital chain. Then you'd associate each position with an image, but not ownership or copyright transfer for the image itself, and then you'd sell those NFTs, positions on the chain. If someone owns an NFT, it will only maintain its value if other people want it, so they always have a vested interest in convincing you it is valuable and you should buy it. That's why NFT bros are so vocal about their support for the entire system. It's built on believing it works. So,
it's a cult. It's like its own religion. You gotta believe and you will prosper.
A non-fungible token is a receipt granted to you by the owner of a specific NFT collection of your current authority in an exceptionally limited capacity over a position on a database, which is represented visually by a picture but is itself not the picture. The value of any given NFT is linked to who created it, who has owned it before you, who is selling it now, and which artwork, if any, is associated as the visual representation of it. Please don't take this video as an exclusive or comprehensive guide. This was more to explain the basics. It's worth going and doing more research on the topic and looking further into the complexities of a system that just exists to part people from their money while providing essentially nothing. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you again to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and Discord, or the second channel Strife Plays, where I review old games voted on.
I'm so glad that Josh made this video because I was heavily debating making a video about NFTs myself, but with courses coming up tomorrow, I don't really have the time to produce a video that even explains the basics the way he did at the production values that he did. I even went so far as to ask him in his Twitch yesterday if he would be fine with reacting, and he said so long as you're adding to the video with your own thoughts and ideas, then yes, I'm okay with it. If you're just standing there going, oh, cool, yeah, no. So I hope I've done that. I hope I've illustrated that, you know, it's not just one guy saying that this is people being duped. It's many people. It's a scam. People are taking advantage of a technology that has practical usage. And if you do your research and you're careful and you're well informed, there's a potential for not profit. This is not an investment-based thing. This is an opportunity to support creators. That's what you need to understand. This is a waste of money. This is a corporation taking advantage of a trend. This is not helpful to anybody. Owning a token for an idea is nothing more than a receipt, and you own the receipt and nothing. Stop wasting server space by, you know, empowering these people to continue producing these useless digital artifacts because there's no point to it. All right. Well, small update for some people. I have some scheduled videos that might come out over the next month or so, and then after that, things are probably going to slow down for me. I'm taking a web development course for the next 16 weeks, and it's accelerated. It's going to be quite intense. It's going to empower me to have a passionate career in web development, and hopefully along the way, I might find some free time to react to some other videos that I find interesting that I feel I can speak to, such as this. Besides that, you probably won't see a lot of gaming content from me for quite some time. And hopefully after that, I'll have a very prosperous career that will allow for some free time for me to come back, and I'll probably engage in both YouTube and Twitch again. That's the hope for now. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace and love, and may the force be with you always.